What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James underscore 36. And this is Jaguars Instant Reaction. Make sure I can check my sound levels. What's going on, world? Yep, we're doing good. Um, the Jaguars in the win club, in the win column. It's always better to have um, a victory than it is to not have a victory. It's always easier to say that. But considering what happened last week and considering what happened this week, it's a tale of two teams. You can see the maturity, the proper direction that the Jags are going into, and just man, it was just that was a thorough ass whooping, man. That they gave Matt Ryan and the Indianapolis Colts, which is wild when you think about how bad the Jaguars have been over the past decade. It's been five. I think they're 8-0 versus the Colts in the last 4 years. They're 5-0 at home versus the Indianapolis Colts in the last few seasons, and it's been crazy how good the Jacksonville Jaguars have performed against them, and in particular how well the Jaguars performed in performed in this past game. So let's get to it. I mean, it started off the gate doing very, very well. Trevor Lawrence had phenomenal control over the game. There was literally no point that this game was out of hand, and the defense actually performed extremely well. You saw, like right now, I think for the first time in quite some time, you've seen the first round picks starting to pay off, and even some of the late round picks in last year's draft. A lot of the younger Jaguar players really rose to the occasion and performed extremely well. Cisco performed well. Devin Lloyd performed well. You've got Trayvon Walker. Didn't really hit the stat column like you wanted to, but he performed very, very well. And a guy that everybody wrote off last week without, and if you didn't really watch the game with intentions, you would have thought Josh Allen performed extremely poor. He just wasn't able to get to the quarterback, and there were a lot of holes and things. But tonight he had a game. I think I counted two sacks. One was a strip sack, and another one where he just kept getting it back, caused all kinds of fits, and that's that pressure. It looked reminiscent of 2017 with Saxonville, with the amount of pressure that they were getting onto the quarterback. And pressure makes your secondary look a lot better. A guy who I didn't really hear anything about this week was Shaq. You heard a lot more about again like the DB play. Cisco, I call him Cookie Head Jenkins because if you watch the movie Hollywood Shuffle, Cookie Head Jenkins was one of the characters in the movie. And it's just what it reminds me of his name. But he got a pick. Everybody got involved. Everybody got involved and was going around flying big hits. Very fast, physical. Hurt my fantasy football team by making sure that one of my running back did not perform at a high level, and that's really who that's where it started was the defense really going after the run game and trying to force Matt Ryan to beat them with his arm, and he was not able to do it. He looked discombobulated. I actually think it looked like a guy who did not want to be there, a guy who was really looking like, you know what, let me go ahead and retire. Uh, it would have been better service if he would have even just done that, but it's it's a game. It's a what I consider a building block game. I don't think Jag fans should go jump out and start talking crazy yet, but I do believe that it does give you something to where you can be excited for next week. And next week, when you look at the Chargers, and I won't go too far, but looking at how they performed on Thursday and look at what happened to Herbert getting injured late in the game, you got to think if you can provide that kind of pressure on them, you're going to have a good situation. That's when I got it shared in all the different groups. But let's just go through all of the different numbers and just see how the game went. I mean, again, 24-0 just a rout. 7 points in the first quarter early. Christian Kirk being able to get open, extending drives, Trevor Lawrence being extremely patient in the pocket, and at times when he couldn't find somebody open, using his legs to extend, not running just to run, but using his athleticism to be able to keep plays a little bit longer, which was important. Another guy that really got involved, James Robinson. James Robinson, I just like James Robinson as a pure running back. He doesn't have the breakaway speed that everybody wants, but in the NFL, if you get 20-yard gains, that's considered a big play. And James Robinson is really good for that, being able to keep the chains moving. Not the greatest yards per carry average, but still decent enough. And what I talked about last week with Trevor Lawrence, and what's really, really important is I called it when Blake Bortles was the guy, and when they were going far in 2017, they kept Blake Bortles under 35 passing attempts. And I think if you keep Trevor Lawrence in that same category, you put a governor on his arm, the sky's the limit. He was 25 for 30, extremely accurate, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. Christian Kirk being the largest recipient of all of those things. He had 64 yards, 64, I believe it was 64 yards, 78 yards receiving on 6 catches. Really got the tight end involved. Evan Ingram with 7 catches, 48 yards. Pitched the ball around 7 different wide receivers or 7 different players touched the ball in the passing game at some time. That's called great distribution, spreading the ball around. James Robinson averaging a paltry 2.8 yards per carry, but what I always say, 2.5 yards in a cloud of dust. That gets you. You do that 4 times, you're going to get a first down every time. But breaking that 37-yard touchdown touchdown run, I believe was great. With 96 yards rushing, if you can get over 100 yards rushing in a game, you're in a situation where you're really, really doing well. But let's just talk about the defense. Devin Lloyd all over the place, sideline to sideline again. He had tied for the team lead with Cisco for 6 tackles. He had 3 solo. Linebacker play through the roof. Josh Allen with 2, again, like I said, 2 sacks. Adam Gotsis, 1 sack. You got 5 total sacks. You got a bunch of other guys with sacks. You had, just again, that's just what you want. Lloyd with the interception. Cookie had Jenkins with an interception, Cisco with an interception. Anytime you get a game like that, it's just going to be you have no choice but kicking the field goal, making that. Again, the game just looked easy, top to bottom. Great game plan. Very hard to really just talk about the bad in this. And I'm trying to look at the things that I really, really enjoy. Just look, time of possession. That's why you know you're going to win a game. Most times it's hard to have win the turnover battle, win the time of possession battle, and outscore somebody. When you're doing those 3 things, it's very difficult to lose on any level. The Jags had the ball, possessed the ball 38 minutes and 15 seconds to the Colts 21 minutes and 45 seconds. So obviously you can see that. Penalties, they were least penalized, three penalties for 19 yards, as opposed to the Colts having 5 penalties for 30 yards. In the red zone, where it matters, the Colts were in the red zone twice, came out with nothing. The Jags were in the red zone twice, came out 2 times. Passing, 235 yards passing to 164 yards. Rushing, 96 yards rushing to 54. Even the attempts, the Colts, because they were behind the chains and they got down 2 scores very early, they had to change their complete game plan. Only ran the ball 13 times with one of the best running backs in the league. 6 for 15 on 3rd downs as opposed to 2 for 10 for the Colts. 2 for 3, and we going for it on 4th down, letting the nuts drop is big. 21 first downs to 9 first downs. You would have thought Trevor Lawrence was a 10-year vet as opposed to Matt Ryan, who I just can't help but say looked extremely old. Just did not look like he wanted to be there. He was sacked again 5 times for 31 yards, lost. The difference between this week and last week were night and day. And that's kind of one of the things that I think Jags fans have to be looking forward to and looking into is not how dominant you are week in and week out. The goal, the NFL, it's a reason why only one team in NFL history has gone undefeated. What you have to do is look at the progression and again, setting yourself up. And the goal is to play meaningful games in November, meaningful games in December. So right now the Jags are 1-1 and probably at top of the division when this weekend is all said and done. As nobody in the division won any games last week. The division is paltry, it's trash. But what the Jazz can do, and with the confidence in the way that everybody look, basically everybody in the division looks like the Colts. So if you can sweep the division or win most of the games, because you're gonna have what? You're gonna have 6 divisional games. If you can at least go 5-1 or 4-2 in the division, now you go and you win some of the other games that you're playing against teams that are on the same level as you from a tradition standpoint, from a talent standpoint, and all of those things. You're going to see yourself be put in a great position and take over the games where you're helped. So like next week, the game plan should be for us to go in, do the same thing, play ball control, take what they give us, control the line of scrimmage, control the time of possession, and then come out of the West Coast with a victory, which is very, very manageable. That's what you have to do when you have a young team. That's what's great about Doug Peterson. And if you think about Doug Peterson when he was with the Eagles, they didn't really have like just straight up guys who were like, okay, this is the NFL's best at this position. Carson Wentz did play lights out, but yeah, I think Michael Jenkins was one of the wide receivers. You had some guys that were just good, but nobody who was just like, all right, as I call them, I'm gonna go buy the jersey guys. And right now, this Jaguars team is so young that there aren't any buy the jersey guys like that besides Trevor Lawrence. But with the way Trevor Lawrence commanded that, it's just kudos to that. And again, I want to really highlight the defense and how well the defense played. You got Cisco, Lloyd, Jenkins, Campbell, Walker. I'm trying to go through all the names of guys. Yeah, most of the guys who made the impact were guys who were younger guys that you're going to get, guys that you picked up through the draft. You're building, you got some really solid building blocks to be able to move forward and continue to get better. The offensive weapons, I I was not very high on Crazy Zay, on Zay Jones, but Zay Jones has been clutch in third down opportunities. So catching the ball, be able to move forward, get that. And Evan Ingram again, great job of what he did. I wish I would have picked you up in fantasy, bro. Probably would have helped me out a little bit more than the tight ends that I have right now. Trayvon didn't get credited for that sack. By the way, Ken Bailey, put you up here on the screen right there. Um, Let me make sure I'm telling you the truth. No, he didn't. He did. He got credited for a quarterback hit. But let's just look at the hits. 11. So you got 5 sacks with 11 hits on the quarterback. That's banging. That's a solid amount of hits that Matt Ryan took. So if you're able to go and do that next week with a Justin Herbert who's got bruised ribs from the Thursday night game, you're going to probably be able to make him make decisions that are a little bit quicker than what they actually want to do. But all in all, it's nothing really overall to break down in this victory that was so impressive. I guess is um, Trevor Lawrence with the command, looking like he had great command of the offense. Um, Not looking like a rookie, looking like everybody was on the same page, looking like he had the respect and admiration of his teammates, and pushing it forward, as well as the defensive line actually can bullying a Colts offensive line that a lot of people have been talking about how good they are. The bad, the only bad I would say really is I would like to not have 2.8 yards per rush. I would like to be able to get into that 3.5 4 yards per rush range. That's really moving the chains. I would really like to see more of that. Um, and I'll say the only real ugly in this is I would like to see more fans there. I didn't get a chance to see a picture of the bank when it was fully rocking. But I will say that the real ugly is, man, we gotta get these kids out of the nosebleeds, man. Why do they put the kids who have done really, really good academically in the seats next to God? Like, come on, man. Move those kids down to at least the mid-tier seats, man. Give them something that they earn. They earn that, man. And I would really like to see better with that. But one thing I will say, I guess the real ugly is this is fans in social media and microwave society have become so quick to fire everybody for perception or what's perceived to have what they perceive to have a bad game. We have a guy who just Chris Counts, and I'm not picking on you, champ, because there's a lot of people who have said the same things, and it's what he says for people who can't, who are listening to this on SoundCloud, is if Allen can play like that every game, he'll be an All Pro, and that's true. Like I mean, two sacks a game, we got in a 17 game season. That you're breaking a record, but Josh Allen played well last week. He just didn't get to the quarterback. Trayvon Walker got to the quarterback, but it's a defensive game, and what happens is if you're consistently in everybody's pressure in the pocket, they can't cheat or look at one guy. And I had somebody say on Twitter last week that Josh Allen's trash. Josh Allen hasn't been playing to his full potential, and I'm like, you obviously didn't watch the game. Josh, like if a guy doesn't get a touchdown, if a guy doesn't rush for 200 yards, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't throw for 300 yards and five touchdowns, that doesn't make these guys not any good. That just means that possibly the other team had a scheme, or it's even across the board that somebody else had a game. What's going to happen with Josh Allen is going to make people view him, which gets Trayvon Walker one-on-one matchups, which should help him, which helps make a lot of the other defensive linemen be able to get individual one-on-one matchups, and that's all you can ask for. Oof. All you can ask for is individual one-on-one matchups. And if you're getting those individual one-on-one matchups and people are winning their individual one-on-one matchups, that's going to cause you to win a lot of games. Because what I always tell people, scheme is irrelevant. Every offensive play is designed to score. Every defensive play is designed to stop the offense from scoring. What it is you have to win your individual matchup. And I think that's where the Jags have to go moving forward is continuing to develop guys, and it's a confidence game. The more confidence you have, the better you'll play. I see it with my son in Pop Warner football right now. He wasn't really, really that great in the beginning. He's getting better each week, but it's because his confidence is picking up. He's making plays, and he's seeing the results of the hard work. So what you have to do is you have to go out there, continue to support, continue to work hard, continue to do what you need to do. No delusions of grandeur. Stop listening to people who tell you that when they're like it's a ebbs and flows of a season and in a game. Because you get two sacks in one game doesn't mean you're Reggie White all of a sudden. And because you don't get any sacks, it doesn't mean you're Clavion Chase. It just means you're probably somewhere in it. But we've seen the skill set. We know what you got to do. So these guys got to go out there and continue to do their jobs and perform at a high level every week. And as I told my alma mater fan base, is that at this point right now with the NFL and where the Jaguars are, you have got to take a look at each game as its own individual season because you're not good enough. You haven't built up this rapport. You have not done enough to be able to be considered one of the top teams. So what we do is for the next 5-6 weeks. If you come out of this thing and you're 4-2, you're in a really really good. Excuse me, you're 4. So that means if you what is the next 6 games? I mean, will be 8 games, and you're 5-3, or you're 6-2. You're in a prime position to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do, and to make teams have to fear you. That's one of the things that is not spoken about enough in football. It's about respect. Almost equates to somewhat fear. You have to literally go out and that is earned. I used to have a shirt. Jealousy is earned. You have to go out there and you have to make the opponent. You have to make the other people jealous of you. And how it starts is making sure you take care of the bank and making sure you take care of everybody in your division. And the way they stop the run, and the way they were able to get pressure on the quarterback while stopping the run and forcing bad passes is great because you still don't have great quarterback play in the division. Um, just going through, making sure because Matt Ryan, from a name value, should have been one of the better quarterbacks in the division, but we all saw how that worked. The Titans play on Monday, but we all know the Titans don't really have a great quarterback. They don't have great quarterback play, and neither do the Texans. Texans right now, which is which is ironic. Now they're gonna Russell Wilson's gonna probably help me lose my fantasy game, but Davis Mills, not not great. Um, not scaring anybody. So, and the Titans, the only thing that makes everybody fear, and it's natural, is Jacksonville's own Derrick Henry. But that's quick. It's always easier to have a longer show when there's less positive things to say. But I will say this: it was dominating and it was played the way that you wanted the game to be played. Um, very balanced. And what I want people to take away is, as long as I think this, as long as we don't have to force Trevor in a situation where he has to throw the ball more than 35 times, I think the Jags are going to win a lot of games, and that comes from proper game planning and proper effectiveness in moving through this offense. But they've got the pieces, and if they continue to do this, there will be some Jersey guys and some household names being made. But appreciate you guys for chopping it up with me. We'll see you guys on Monday. I believe at around noon for Sports Den. Please check us out for we'll be on live for about an hour. I'm talking about this weekend in sports. A lot of good, fun, exciting things in college football. A lot of great pro games. Hey, you guys be blessed. Have a nice evening.